Kerbal News, day 62, 5 hours and 28 minutes. With the unlocking of the comms network, everything is looking green. At least it would be if you were in color. Brand new technology presents itself as manually deployed satellites, weather stations, mystery goo canisters, seismometers are unveiled, giving the Kerbals an idea. Polar regions must be explored, and these two brave Kerbals are just the Kerbals to do it in a brand new design long-distance aeroplane. The polar ice caps after long last come into view, as landing should prove easy for such skilled Kerbals. Realizing that their rocket engines no longer had oxidizer and were pointless, they very skillfully destroyed one to reduce the weight of the aircraft, then properly landed on the flat, icy surface. Much like they were taught in flight school, go in at a funny angle. You boys did Jebediah proud. The weather station is now a go. The Kerbals deploy seismometers, weather stations, radar dishes, and control stations to beam the data back to Kerbin on the newly established network. Good job, boys! As the sun rises and falls very low on the horizon, the Kerbals are excited to take on new contracts, which will give them another reason to go back to Minmus with an automated roving system. Will they be successful? Find out!
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Saka here, and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. When we last left off, we sent a space plane up to the poles to collect science, and now it's time to look at some contracts that we can do. Definitely exploring Minmus. We must continue to unravel the mysteries. Rendezvous 2 vessels in orbit. We will have such a vessel. Collect data from the surface of Minmus. That is easy, we can do that. Bringing green sandstone. We'll find some of that. And we need to, let's see, okay. So I think we can do that. One contract that I wish we could have is the Rover arm, but that should give us some science. So we're going to be building a rover in order to analyze that sandstone before we bring it back for a lot of science. So I will go ahead and get the rocket ready, but we're going to need to upgrade our launch pad in order to fit this bad boy. Let me show you what I'm working on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a 2-stage rocket here. We've got a big booster section lifting all of this up, and we have a command pod with a docking port. We have a lander with a docking port that will complete our docking around Minmus, and we also have a little probe here with wheels, a automated rover that can do the work and scan with its arm the sandstone. So hopefully this rocket can do the work for us. Yeah, let's put those parachutes over there, or those solar panels there. We'll extract those, or open those when we get into space, but let's save and launch. Jebediah at the controls. 3, 2, 1, go! Good liftoff. As soon as we clear the pad, let's pitch over to the 90 and start really picking up some speed here. We have it figured out, just by pure accident, of course, that we have enough fuel in this lower stage to get us circularized. That is its main purpose and goal. And then we will use the command pod, once we connect that to our lander, to get us out to Minmus and ultimately circularize around Minmus and get the lander down. The probe itself, the little guy, the little rover, has an extra fuel tank in it too that we actually won't be using, so we'll be transferring that fuel into the command pod stage as we need to, because the rover won't need any fuel. It's not going to fly anywhere. It's just going to drive. So we build the body out of a fuel tank, and then we're going to use that fuel to the best we possibly can. So you've seen this ascent before. I'm going to go ahead and speed through this and get us circularized, and we will be right back. All right, we're in an 88 by 81 orbit. Jebediah did some amazing flying there, and we're ready to ditch this section here and do our transfer. So let's go ahead and decouple that stack separator, leaving our little rover at the base of the rocket. That's going to help us out a bit. And let's go ahead and do our flip maneuver here. Let's get Jebediah into the pod, or the lander, so he can help guide this thing. Let's go ahead then and decouple. And then once these guys flip around, we can jettison the shroud and him. One more good turn deserves another. We need to jettison this guy. Decouple, and off it goes. All right, our Minmus lander is set to the target. Let's point it right at the docking port. The only bad thing is Jebediah can't help these guys out. Jebediah is on the lander, so it's up to Jebediah to do the flying. Let's go ahead and do that, and actually, before we do the separation, let's put the engines there in the first stage so we can activate them, and just barely throttle forward. There we go, right on the mark. Now as Jebediah comes in, we can change to the pod and point at that docking port as well. So Jebediah is going to stay on the straight and narrow. The pod is going to face the docking port, and with any luck and with any magnetism, they should connect just fine. Watching that nav ball. And come on now. Good solid contact. That was a good dock. Now we can turn off these two engines on the lander, as we won't need them. And we'll get Jebediah back aboard the command mod. And transfer back here, and then we will control from here and activate this engine. All right, so we've got 1,000 meters a second in this particular fuel tank here. Plus, we've got all this extra fuel in that section there. All right, let's go ahead and plot our trip to Minmus. I'll be right back when we transfer. All right, a 35-second burn with this engine. We'll go at T-minus 17. And this should be our transfer set. Now, we'll be using nearly all of the fuel in this section, but we can transfer the fuel from there, so we won't be low on fuel. Go, go, go. All right, so we're keeping Jebediah on the prograde marker. And we should be able to make a nice, quick and easy transfer. Yep, about halfway through the maneuver. 400 meters a second left in this tank. And coming up on it, and cut. 3.6 meters a second. Looking at the map, we do have our Minmus encounter. It's a high periaps, but we can get that right down. Next step is to transfer the fuel. We'll go ahead and alt-click that, and put all the fuel in that section. You can see, well, you could see our meters a second climb over here as we gain a ton of fuel. And there we go. So 749 total meters a second. And then what we don't use in the lander, because the lander has more than enough to get down to the surface and get back with plenty of fuel, we'll just transfer the rest of it in here and leave the lander be. So I will see you when we are around Minmus. Coming high over Minmus now, we are going to fire at T minus 6 seconds here for 400 meters a second. And that should leave us plenty of fuel in this stage to circularize, and then we got to get back home on whatever we can bring back from the lander. So that's all well and good. Point 3, we'll take it. Leaves us with 351 meters a second left. And we're coming over the top here. We'll be in a pretty polar orbit, so we can pretty much pick and choose where we're going. We can let the planet rotate below us if need be. And there we go. So a 1-second burn. We'll take it. All right, so I think by the time we get around, we'll be facing this way. So I'll turn prograde here, which indeed is our marker, and then I'll just turn the SAS off and warp to our next maneuver. All right, a 1-second burn. And that should be us parked with 300 meters a second left, and indeed, nice and circular, a 30 by 32, and we can launch on the pole. So let's go ahead and get our crew transferred over. First, of course, will be Jebediah, as he is the pilot. We'll need him down there. Transfer him to the lander can. And we will need our scientist as well, Bob, transferred over. And this has a full fuel tank. It does indeed. All right, undock. All right, let's turn these engines back on before we forget it. And we've got 1,800 meters a second of fuel in here. Very, very nice. We definitely won't need it all. And let's plot our landing, which I think we're coming right over the lakes where we set our flag. Indeed, 13 minutes away. So if we do something like that, we should be okay. A 13-second burn. All right, let's get to it. I'll see you on approach. All right, T-minus 7, go. And indeed, these engines do pack a punch. So what we're looking for is rocks in this sort of mountain range. They're kind of hard to spot, but I've got ground scatter off, so we won't see any of the rocks unless they're meant to be found. So only rocks that we can interact with. We are coming down on the flats indeed. Let's go ahead and speed up time then. Time warp down. There's our flag down there, just a few kilometers away. Now what we want to do is extend the landing gear. But the landing gear does not go past the feet of this little rover. So we're going to have to drop it off right at the surface. Speaking of surface, make sure we're in surface mode and go retrograde. And old Jebediah can get us slowed down. Let's see how fast these engines can get us woed up. Actually, this looks like a pretty good place. So I'm going to push that retrograde marker right over the top. So now as we slow down, we're pretty much coming straight down, aside from, you know, a little bit of side slip. But there we go. Pretty much straight down, and we have some pretty good braking authority. So I'll coast down to the surface and make our landing. right, shadow is in view. We want to bring this right down and slow down to about, I would say 4 to 5 meters a second. I mean, we just want to come down just barely here so we can detach our little rover. Hopefully we're close enough to one of the edges that it won't have far to drive. That's going to be the next big kicker. Unfortunately, we're pretty far away from, you know, really any land. We're right out here in the middle of nowhere. But hopefully we should be able to see some of the rocks. All right, as we come closer, we'll slow down until we're like at a few meters per second here. There's our shadow. Let's come to a pretty close to a stop. Half a meter a second. And decouple. All right, so our little rover has made it down. That decoupling ring is doing the work. Let's hop just a little bit here and get over our rover. Maybe a little bit of thrust there. Now we can come down. Pretty well straight down. And there we go, cut it. All right, we'll use SAS to keep ourselves upright, but we've got the boingy landing gear, and indeed, we should make a good touchdown. So we are here, we have plenty of sunlight. Swap over to our rover. All right, let's do it. Okay, so our rover's spinning a bit. Let's break it free of that disc. All right, steering disabled. And we seem to have a rover that likes to go in circles. There we go. The disc is gone at least. All right, so if I turn, okay, that would be backwards. Steering disabled. All right, so I'm trying to figure out where the front of this thing is. Control point forward, control from here. There we go. Nice, so now we've got some authority here. Let's turn off the steering in the back wheels and only get them in the front. All right, steering's disabled there, and steering should be enabled here. Okay, one of these steerings is backwards. This one's backwards. Steering. Invert that. Nice. So now we have a rover. Let's put the brakes on. All right, the arm. All right, no target in range. And we've got 410 electric charge on this guy. Sweet. What is our lander doing over there? Our lander is bouncing around like crazy. SAS on. Why is this thing wanting to tip over like that? Landing strut. I don't know what the wheel stress is. But it's like this thing is too bouncy. Or something. Let's see if we extend the ladder. I doubt that'll actually do anything to stop this from flipping like it is. I don't know what this is all about. Maybe if we... I don't want to retract. There we go. I just sort of sped it up to see if it will settle down. I mean, this thing is hopping like crazy. So is our little rover. But I think we're fine now. All right, let's do some science while we're here. We had to collect some data from Minmus. And luckily, booyah, the contract is now complete. $126,000. That more than paid for the rocket. Let's open up and see what kind of science we can get. Another 23, we'll keep it. We have Bob on board, so he can definitely reset those experiments for us before we head on our way. All right, temperature's done. Then we had the materials bay. All right, we'll go ahead and keep that experiment. And then we had the seismometer here for the seismic data, 200 science. So we will go ahead and keep that. And Bob will go ahead and collect all of this science data. And then we will fly out to see if we have any such, we can almost do it like this. If there's any sort of limestone along these hills, we're sort of being a little bit cheeky here, but it helps me from, you know, flying out to the wild blue yonder if there's really nothing out here. But I mean, there might not be, you know. I know this limestone is pretty rare, so I'm just gonna go poke around a bit with Bob and see if he can find some of this limestone. I don't see any on the hills right here because that would be way too convenient. Wait, there's one. All right, so right here in the flat, don't know how far away that was or what cardinal direction that was. So maybe not too far away, so I'll be right back. All right, here is our piece of limestone. It's almost bearing 270, so what we want to do is have Bob shoot the back azimuth of 270 and come out this way, and hopefully we can find it. It's not too far away. Literally, just make a right turn off of our lander and head that way. All right, so the 270 would be the 90, so I'll have Bob fly on over and see if we can find it. Rock ho! Nice, we got it. And didn't have to use too much RCS fuel. In fact, there we are right there, so it won't be too bad for our little rover. Ow, come on, Bob. Come on, Bob, get up. Slide, Bob, slide. I'll keep it in view. So as we come to a complete stop, maybe Bob can walk back. Tell you, Minmus is one of those places that you don't want to go falling down a mountain because you will fall forever. But luckily, Bob is slowing down. Bob's got some friction on him. Jump, Bob, go! All right, I don't know what we can do with this. We might be able to pick it up once our rover has investigated it. So that'll be the next step, is to fly the rover on over and meet Bob. All right, almost to the surface feature. Bob is going to have to move. Let's put on the brakes. Okay, so the rover doesn't slow down as quickly as one would assume, but as long as, you know, we stop before we hit Bob, it's okay. Hey, Bob. Beep, beep. Boop. All right, Bob. You're going to have to move out of the rover's way a little bit because the rover's arm is over there. All right, Bob, shed some light on the subject, if you please. There we go. All right, little rover. Brakes off, and let's see if we can get within range here. And brakes. All right, so we should be stationary. Here we go. Scan the green sandstone. And Bob looking attentively as the scientists do. Very cool. Nice, 100 science, and we get it all if we transmit it. So, let's see, 33% of the science value. No, we'll, let's see, we'll keep that experiment. Now, can Bob grab that experiment from the arm and bring it back? Yeah, take the data. Sweet, so Bob's got that. And we are not able to extract this, I don't think. I'm not getting an option to extract it, even though we're like standing right on it. But I mean, it's more science for us. It's something that we've done. And I don't know. Maybe this guy can go elsewhere. But as far as we're concerned, our mission is done. Now Bob just needs to get back to the ship. Let's see. They came from over there. There we go. All right, Bob. So get back to the ship. We'll store that data. And we'll complete one of these contracts here. Let's see. So that was the transmit, bring the green sandstone back with you. And the focus observational, nah. Okay, and then rendezvous 2 ships in orbit is our next thing. Maybe there is something up the tech tree that we can pick up one of these guys and take with us, because Bob cannot. It doesn't look like. So unfortunately, that's going to have to wait. But let's go ahead and get home, since we've completed what we've came to do. Next, we will dock the lander and the command module in orbit around Minmus to complete that contract and get back with this science. So I will see you when we are ready for takeoff. All right, Bob is aboard. So now what we have to do is wait for the planet to rotate around again until we get to about right here. Once we get that orbit, we'll go north-northeast and meet up with the... No, we'll have to fly south-southwest. If we flew north-northeast, we would be against the flow of the module. So when we get around to here, we'll fly south-southwest and meet back up. So I will see you when our orbits meet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are about there. We'll set that as our target. When we take off in the dead of night, we want to fly south-southeast or south-southwest. So we will be going that way. Okay, SAS on. Engines fired and go. More south than west. But up we go. Let's point our nose up just a bit so we don't go slamming into the rocks. Gear up. And cut. All right, so that will get us in a pretty wonky orbit. We overshot just a bit, but we can add a maneuver to straighten her up. See if we can actually get an encounter. What we'll probably have to do is adjust our inclination as well. So I'll put my periaps about where that is there. So 1 second burn, not too awful bad, and I will be right back. All right, prograde now, so we should no longer slam into the surface, and there we go. We are at 4.4 degrees off. So we'll go ahead and line up on our ascending node. Something like so. That's 0.01, good enough for government work, and in fact only 8.4 meters a second here. And we want to go descending. Outstanding. Let's go ahead and warp to our next maneuver. And it is just going to be cracking the throttle a little bit. Not much at all. All right, let's do this at 0. And we want to just barely open the gas. There we go. Cut. Now let's see what our inclination is. 0.1. Outstanding. So now we just have to orbit around until our orbits line up. So we'll set a maneuver node, and we will just tell it to go further in its orbit. All right, that one isn't bad. All right, coming over the top, there is Bill right down there, and we are going to be at 1.3 kilometers separation. So what we'll do is we will go SAS on and retrograde to the target, and we want to slow down. So when we get to our closest point here, we'll come to a complete stop, and then we'll burn towards Bill. 1.5, 1.4, 1.3. Let's kill all of our velocity. 0.4. All right, let's point to the target, which old Bill is right over here. 3.3 meters a second. Let's just go prograde. And approach at 20 meters a second or so. We could always flip around and kill our velocity. So we'll go retrograde, and we'll park right next to him. Should be only just a matter of time. All right, so 200 meters, 100 meters, 50 meters. Come to a complete stop, please. Yeah, 0.1 meter a second. Can't beat that. All right, let's point to Bill. He's going to be right here. It may be wise to wait until we're on the daylight side, but really no need. All right, Bill. Where is our pod? There you are. Set that as the target so Bill can point her straight at us here. All right, and Jebediah, carefully now. 0.9 meters a second. Everything is lining up here. All right, everything is looking good. There we go. All right, SAS off. And we'll see if we get soft dock. It looks like it's pretty on point. And we'll have a whole lot of fuel to transfer over. Easy does it. Boom, soft dock, welcome back. Jebediah and Bob. All right, first things first, we have to grab the science from this lander, because we've got science stored here that need to go across. So Jebediah can go ahead on over. We'll transfer to the capsule, but Bob is going to EVA. He is going to grab all of the science out of this, take the data, and he's just going to hop across. Grab, nice. And store that data. Can we take a crew report? EVA report? Nah. Okay, not worth it. All right, Bob is on board. All 3 Kerbals accounted for. Yes, all of the science is out of that. The only thing left to do, if we wanted to crash the lander, we could, instead of leaving it in orbit. So what we'll do is at our apoapse, we'll add a maneuver to go retrograde. Like so. And then once that maneuver is complete, we will undock and then go prograde again. All right, so let's get all this fuel out. And we should have plenty of fuel. Yeah, 1,100 meters a second. Looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the light side of the moon and do our deorbit maneuver. It's a shame we didn't have a seismograph on the moon. That way it would detect whenever we slam something in. We'll turn retrograde here. We are controlling from here, yes indeed. Something like that, then we disconnect. Undock, go prograde. Sort of kick that off to the side. And now we won't slam into the surface anymore. We'll throttle up just a little bit more. There we go. A 27 by 33, and our lander will indeed smash the surface about right there. Awesome. So all that's left to do now is to get back home. We want to fire our engines. Well, this is kind of awkward, but we could probably do it here. In fact, we're not that far off to add a maneuver right here and just burn prograde and fall back into Kerbin's sphere of influence. Something like that just to shoot us, you know, off angle. I mean, we are coming out at a funny angle, but we're going against the orbit of Minmus. And then we'll just drop our apo-ap. So 1 second burn, we'll be right back. All right, 1 second. Booyah. So we should be leaving Minmus now. Yes, indeed. And we'll end up over here at our apo-aps, and then we will lower our peri-aps down and get to re-entry. All right, 1 second, here we go. Booyah. Cut. All right, so that camera flip means that we are going to crash into Kerbin. That isn't good. Let's go prograde and raise up our periapsis just a bit. All right, so that's 32,000. Are we going to come down on the light side of the planet? We are. And it would be quite awesome if we fall into the Kerbal Space Center. Let's do 60 for now, and let, you know, once we orbit around, we'll see if we want to slow down or whatnot. But ideally, the KSC will be right under us when we fall in. That would be ideal, but we can't plan for such things, so we'll see you then. Okay, I think this is our jam. So what we're going to do is at periaps, we are going to retrograde burn and see what we got here. All right, time to periaps 1 minute 50. Once we actually get in the atmosphere, we'll start burning here. We'll naturally go retrograde as well. And we just need to bring this down to where we splash down okay. So we're going to sail right over it, apparently. Unless we really start dropping. And dropping speed. Let us... Alright, capsule is clear. SAS off. Yeah, there's a Kerbal Space Center right there. We really need to start slowing down. Which it looks like we are. I mean, we're not that bad. I mean, we can see it. It's just a shame that we can't pop our parachutes right here. But we're not going to be far. I mean, there's the KSC. We're still coming down at a good clip. We might be able to see it. guess we'll just see what our percent is. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. He says as it goes careening over the horizon. I mean, we should be slowing down quite tremendously now. Yeah, so it's on the horizon. They don't have far to go. So we overshot just a bit, but not bad. But this should be a very good science day for us. Let's go ahead and jettison. Well, we'll jettison the heat shield once the parachutes go. We'll be splashing down at about 6 meters a second. Spoosh. All right, any crew report we can do? Yes, we can from the water. We'll keep it. Can we EVA? Do an EVA report down here? No. All right, go ahead and board Jebediah. And let's call for pickup. So it'll be interesting to see what the capsule's worth. But we got 431 science back, outstanding. We got 89% of the value. We got 5,000 back, so not a good return. But Bill advanced to level 1, outstanding. All right, so what can we do on the research and development side of things? I'd like to look at nuclear engines for 300. That will allow us to get stuff out to Duna, and I think that would be very, very handy, so we will research that. Down to 389 science, we can get another one of these 300 sciences. Structure panel, high altitude flight. Might be for a single stage to orbit. More rover. Oh, the command seat and the rove mate. That might be handy if we send another rover. We can actually put a seat on it and not have to worry about, not have to worry about probe cores and all that other stuff. Sentinel infrared telescope. Huh. That one might not be bad. The surface scanner, that's for ore drilling. And the medium arm, increasing the amount of data the arm can gather. That might not be too awful bad. Unmanned tech for a few more probe cores. And the flat probe core would prove amazing because we only got those little itty bitty square probe cores for now. Fuel cell and a large thermal. And the giant solar array would be handy. I think we need large thermal for the nuclear approach. And, I mean, if we make a giant solar, that would allow us to do, get a space station up and running. Let's just go ahead and do that and focus on, say, a space station in the next episode. A low Kerbal orbit science extravaganza. All right, contract was complete. We got $240,000. Oh, we did bring green sandstone back. So not only... Oh, nice. Sweet. So we did make some moolah. Very, very nice. We'll see what kind of contracts there are, if we can put any satellites in orbit. But I think a space station is in order. But that will do it for me. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next Kerbal Space Program video. Take care.